I probably will never go on Fox Soul again unless I have a
Excellent.
conversation with Tammy Mack, because none of my interviews on Fox Soul were done with me knowing who would be on the panel with me.
Dr. Umar can sit up here and list all the different ways that the system is disenfranchising Black men and Black men in a victim boat. But the reality is what he cannot tell you is what Black men did in response to it, because they did nothing.
Dr. King was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Malcolm X was assassinated because he was doing nothing. That narrative that Black men have done nothing to fight back against systemic oppression is absolutely ridiculous.
And the sad thing about Jesse Lee Peterson is he is too old to be cooning at this point in his life.
Today's Black man has an illogical mindset because he thinks like a woman.
You are politically effeminate, Jesse Lee Peterson.
In their mind.
You are politically
and
effeminate.
Women are illogical.
You are
in their
politically
mindset, right?
effeminate.
Why are you
You are
at me?
defending the white power structure against your own people while you claim to be a man of God. You are a disgrace to your race, sir.
You know, as of late, for the past couple of years, Dr. Umar, there's been, you know, this push and this movement for, you know, ADOS or FBA, this push for reparations and things of that nature. Let me just ask you, where do you fall on that? What do you think about the reparations movement?
Well, reparations is not an ADOS thing. It is not an FBA thing. The reparations movement itself comes out of the history of Pan-Africanism. If you study the history of the movement, you will find that many of the fathers of that movement were the first proponents of reparations. That is not a new thing. It did not evolve in the past 3-4 years. The problem is many within the YouTubian community are not very well read on our history or in the history of reparations, so it gets attached to one or two people. Reparations is as old as Pan-Africanism. It is as old as the slave trade. It is as old as African colonization. Again, it's not a new movement. Marcus Garvey himself, the most honorable Marcus Garvey, is the father of modern reparations because he was the first one to go to the League of Nations way before there was a United Nations to demand that the former German colonies be turned over to African people from the diaspora so we can go back to Africa and create a new civilization for ourselves. So Pan-Africanism, again, is not an ADOS thing. It's not an FBA thing. It actually comes out of the Pan-Africanist movement.
Right. And the other thing I actually wanted to lead with this, but it kind of slipped my mind. Now, of course, everybody knows what happened with, you know, Fox Soul and that whole shit show, for the lack of a better word.
What you should have been doing is trying to get liberation for yourself. What you should have been trying to do is get that foot off your neck. But see, the foot is not on your neck. And the only time you recognize it being on your neck is when you want to get away with doing something that you think white men are getting away with doing. Because let's just be real. Whenever we hear about this war against Black men, it's usually being brought up when there's a Black man like R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. We see Trey Songz going through it, Ari Spears, when they engage in some degeneracy, and then they're getting a consequence for it. And Black men think that because they perceive white men to be getting away with crimes, they want to be able to get away with crimes as well. The reality is, Dr. Umar can sit up here and list all the different ways that the system is disenfranchising Black men and Black men in a victim boat. But the reality is what he cannot tell you is what Black men did in response to it, because they did nothing.
Well, number one, again, I think that it is such a shame coming from a psychological perspective that we seek to heal our wounds as a people by relying on unprofessional testimony by individuals who have a vendetta against the opposite gender in their community. When you hear Sister Cynthia speak, you can hear a hurt and a pain and a hatred towards Black men. We cannot find an effective solution to Black male-female relationship issues or the oppression of Black men or Black women when the people at the table having the conversation have emotional negative, emotional, and pathological interests in the conversation that are not.
Umar, the question wasn't about my emotional state. The question was, what did Black men do in response to their disenfranchisement? Yeah, because you're trying to pathologize my emotional state, not knowing that I'm a psychologist too. But what you're not doing is telling us what Black men did.
I believe he'll get there, Dr. Umar.
May I finish?
Dr. Umar?
And I'll end it quickly, Sister Tammy. According to Mrs. Cynthia G., Dr. King was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Malcolm X was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Medgar Evers was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Fred Hampton was assassinated because he was doing nothing. That narrative that Black men have done nothing to fight back against systemic oppression, not only against ourselves, but against our women, our children, our elders, and our community is absolutely ridiculous. The cemetery is filled with Black men, names we know and names we don't know, who gave their life for the freedom, liberation, and emancipation of African people. How can you disrespect the history of so many Black men, past and present, who continue to fight? I'm sitting in a school right now that we built with all Black money, 4 buildings that we're going to educate Black men in. It's not easy to solve our problems because there's always Black people in your very same community who's fighting against what you're trying to do to help it. But in addition to that, the white power structure is always waving its wand of oppression to try to sabotage anything we do. I think that the analysis of our women is too overly simplistic, and in being such, it is dishonest.
They've done so much. You've only listed names and not accomplishments, though.
I can list some accomplishments.
Let me ask you this: in terms of the YouTubian sphere and YouTubian community, what do you think is driving this growing, seems to be growing vitriol that's being displayed between Black men and Black women on YouTube? And you have many individuals who are looking, from my vantage point, looking to monetize that.
Well, the agenda is the destruction and stabilization of the Black family. That agenda comes from the white power structure itself. And there's many aspects to that war to destroy the Black family. So the LGBT movement, the homosexual movement, the transgender movement, the interracial relationship movement, all of these are weapons created to help destroy the traditional Black family. And this war of words that is going on between Black men and Black women is another weapon that's being used to destroy the foundation of the traditional Black family. This negative exchange between men and women, which is one that I deliberately sought to avoid when I got on the Fox Soul interview. Once I saw Cynthia G and understanding what she has had to say about me in the past, although she doesn't know me personally, and understanding her dialogue towards Black men, which is a very negative, a very hostile, and a very angry dialogue and narrative that she puts forward about Black men, I had decided within my mind that I was not going to allow this interview to be used to continue to fuel that fight between Black men and Black women. So I deliberately decided to exercise a lot of patience and try to show a lot of love during that interview because I saw who was on there. Now, to be honest with you guys, I probably will never go on Fox Soul again unless I have a conversation with Tammy Mack, because none of my interviews on Fox Soul were done with me knowing who would be on the panel with me. And this is no disrespect to Cynthia G or anyone else who was on that panel, but they're not on my level intellectually, academically. You know, I'm a holder of 6 degrees. I'm at the top of my field. I don't have an equal. I don't have an equal in the field of psychology. I don't have an equal in the field of Black consciousness. For you to just drag anybody off social media and put them on a platform with Dr. Umar is an insult to me. And this is not the first time they've done it. They've had other people on panels with me. I was on one discussion with 2 brothers about interracial relationships, and they were YouTubers. Where's Cornel West? Where's Michael Eric Dyson? Where's Mark Lamont Hill? Where's Tavis Smiley? Where's some of these young PhD professors at the HBCUs and at the PWIs? Put me on a panel of my peers. Don't put me on a panel of YouTubers. I am not a YouTuber. I do not have a YouTube page. I don't want one. I probably have the biggest name on YouTube because of the power of my message, but I'm not a YouTuber. So why are you constantly surrounding a scholar with YouTube personalities? They did the same thing with Jesse Lee Peterson. Racism is not about individual white people choosing to hate blacks. Racism is about the system of racism that controls opportunities and resources, Sister Tammy. Racism is not about the attitude. It's about the control of resources and opportunities.
Tammy, that is not true. This is why we have to we must get to know ourselves so that we can overcome that fallen state. Dr. Umar is evil for putting out a lie like that lies like that because people are going to believe in
let's
it.
refrain from calling people names.
Okay, but he's not telling the truth.
We have to refrain, Sister Tammy, but at the same time,
he is evil.
I think it's important that we understand the difference between the Negro and the coon. Sister Tammy, this is a very important distinction that has to be made. The Negro is innocent in his ignorance, Sister Tammy. As Brother Michael said earlier, some people make mistakes against the race unknowingly. If you make a mistake against the race unknowingly, that was a Negro. Negroes are innocent. They think white people are more intelligent. They think Jesus is black because they haven't been taught any better. But a coon knows better. But the coon voluntarily identifies with his oppressor because there is an agenda that he's looking to get filled. And the sad thing about Jesse Lee Peterson is he is too old to be cooning at this point in his life. And the fact that he claims to be a man of God doing the devil's work makes him a total hypocrite.
But Tammy, you know what I just want to add to that? To hear Dr. Umar and the other man to speak this way.
That's Michael.
Is Michael, sorry. To hear Michael and Dr. Umar speak this way is abnormal for men. Normally men, when I was growing up, they had logical mindset. But today's black man has an illogical mindset because he thinks like a woman. He has not overcome the spirit of the woman and returned to the logical mindset.
There is nothing more effeminate than a white man defending the white power structure against black people. There is nothing more effeminate than a black man defending the white power structure against black people.
Hey, why are you speaking? Hold on.
You are politically effeminate, Jesse Lee
logical
Peterson.
In their mind.
You are politically
and
effeminate.
Women are illogical.
You are
in their
politically
mindset, right?
effeminate.
Why are you
You are
over
defending the white power structure against your own people while you claim to be a man of God. You are a disgrace to your race, sir. You are a disgrace to your race.
And so normally
Dr. Umar,
the men with the logical mindset would bring the women and children to a logical mindset to help them overcome. But now the black men, not all but most, they think like their mothers and grandmothers. So they all think just like women, and that's why you can't get it right.
So indicting racism makes you a woman.
God, and that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children.
I'm not interested in the religious interpretation of racism.
Today's black woman is over the men. And
it is a mistake to use religion to interpret political phenomena.
That's why
we're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back on the Tammy McFadden Show on Fox Soul. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back.
Why am I wasting my time in a conversation with a coon like Jesse Lee Peterson? No credentials, no expertise, no community service. So again, no disrespect with Cynthia G. You know, I guess she has a right to have her voice. I don't particularly support it because I don't want young black women hearing the vitriol that comes out of her mouth no more than I want to hear young black men hearing the vitriol that comes out of the mouths of some of our brothers. So I take issue with Fox Soul, you know, for constantly surrounding me on a panel with the people who are not my equals academically or intellectually. And as far as the whole Help Giselle situation, I thought that was absolutely trifling, disrespectful, and underhanded. Now, don't get me wrong. I would have still done the panel, okay? Because I'm not transphobic, I'm not homophobic, but I do not support the lifestyles. Phobia is the fear. And as I've always said, there is no such thing as transphobia in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders that we use in the mental health profession to diagnose illness. There was no transphobia or homophobia in DSM-1, DSM-2, DSM-3, DSM-4, and now we're up to DSM-5. These are words that were created by that community to castigate and criminalize anyone who disagrees with the lifestyle. So I have nothing against Hope Giselle, okay, at all. But I disagree with the lifestyle of Hope Giselle. But just tell me that there will be a transgendered person. Let me know that there's going to be a surgically altered male in the conversation. And I'll say this and I'll shut up. Black women need to be careful. And the reason Black women need to be careful is because they are co-signing this surgically altered male movement that they refer to as transgendered woman. There's only one type of woman in the world, and that's the woman who has the menstrual cycle, and that's the woman who carries and gives birth to a child. You cannot be a woman if you were not born one, according to Dr. Umar Ifatunde. So that was not a transgendered woman because there's only one type of woman. Hope Giselle doesn't have a menses. Hope Giselle cannot carry a child. Hope Giselle is a surgically altered male, a man imitating a woman. Now, with that, the reason Black women have to be careful is if Black women keep on allowing surgically altered men to represent them, if they keep on allowing surgically altered men to have conversations about the experience of Black women, the power structure of this country is going to replace the voice of authentic biological Black women with authentic surgically altered men. If Black women do not make it clear that only biological women can speak for biological women, I can foresee a situation in the next couple of years, not even a decade, not even the next generation. I can see a situation in the next couple of years where the voice of the Black woman would have been totally colonized by the surgically altered male.
Right now, and you know, you laid out a lot of great points, and I actually did a stream covering, you know, reviewing the panel, and I said so myself that they would have never done someone like Jordan Peterson like that. They would have never brought Jordan Peterson on for a panel and have him discussing a serious issue like y'all supposed to be discussing with YouTubers like Cynthia G and this Hope Giselle person. So it was disrespectful, it was a slap in the face. And frankly, you know, like I said, as a community of people, we don't even understand when we're being trolled. That was trolling. They were basically trolling the Black community, and it was offensive to Cynthia G to put Cynthia G up here with this trans woman and not divulge to the audience or to the other panelists that this was a trans woman. The other thing that I did that I took you know, offense at was this thing where they're gonna have it where as if you and the other brother have to explain your actions and yourselves to Cynthia G and this other person as Black men. You see, and that was the major thing that I had with it, because like I said, Dr. Umar, Cynthia G who is Cynthia G? Who is Cynthia G for you as a accomplished scholar and academic to have to sit up there and explain yourself to her? I don't give a damn if she got 1 million subscribers. You see what I'm saying? She doesn't have that that authority or that gravitas to be able to you know, question a person of your stature.
Well, the other point too, and of course, the surgically altered male had no business giving opinions on the experience of Black women. But even if Hope had been a biological woman, and of course, Hope is a biological man, but even if Hope had been a biological woman, one of the issues I had with the panel is both women were of an extreme anti-Black male position base. Both of them. Normally, when you create a panel, you try to get someone who's pro the issue and someone who is con or anti the issue. You brought two individuals here, one a biological woman and one is a biological male masquerading as a woman, both who had extreme negative, toxic narratives to share about Black men. So from a presentation perspective, from a production perspective, why would you have the same mindset represented twice? There should have been balance, and that was another issue with the conversation.
Yeah, and I even said as much, that, you know, it wasn't, you know, it was basically like trying to set something up like a Jerry Springer show, you know, and that's why I said we're so stuck on this gender banging thing that we don't even understand when we should be insulted as a community of people.